little bit different. All right, so let's go straight to the podium in New Orleans. Let's listen to both head coaches.
She's been such a great host to us at the hotel, and I feel like I've known Dottie for years, and for her to have her opportunity to be a president, and my wife was commenting last night on how awesome Dottie has been. So the presenting sponsor, Allstate, we thank them too. And thank you guys for the media for covering this, and just excited to get a chance to play an incredible team in Ole Miss. Pete's done a fantastic job taking over for what was already rolling, and you know, it's going to be a great game. I think you're looking at two of the premier programs and two of the premier teams in college football, two teams that earned their right to this game, and excited to get these kids out there and go let them play. Thank you.
Thanks, Coach Smart. And now Coach Golding.
Yeah, obviously, Kirby thanked everything for both of us. So I appreciate that, Coach.
I did that for you.
I appreciate that. I needed that. But no, super excited like we talked about yesterday. Opportunity, obviously, to come back where I'm from. Just like Coach Smart, you know, having the opportunity at Alabama to play in a bunch of Sugar Bowls, and the job that you guys have always done and will always do, and this environment and this venue of playing in the Dome for the players around, you know, our fan base that's very close has been really exciting. So huge opportunity in front of us. We know the challenge. I think Georgia and Coach Smart are the premier program in college football, and they've done that on a consistent basis, and that's where we're trying to get Ole Miss. So we're really excited about the opportunity.
Thank you, Coach Golding. We'll now open the floor to questions. Please wait for the microphone to ask your question, and please identify yourself by your name and media outlet. And then finally, please identify which coach your question is directed to. Raise your hand if you have a question. I will start in the back, right side along the aisle.
This is for Kirby. You guys rank first in the country in fourth down conversion rate and second in red zone touchdown percentage. Why do you think you guys are so successful in those two particular areas?
Well, we work at them, but that doesn't always have something to do with that. Those stats can be very misleading, especially the fourth down one, because, you know, what fourth downs are you going for, right? Is it fourth and inches, fourth and one, or are you behind in games and you're going for fourth and 8, fourth and 7? You know, so the teams that win games usually have a pretty good fourth down rate because they're not going for it all the time on fourth. I mean, the LSU team in whatever year it was with Joe Burrow and them, they didn't have any fourth downs. They didn't have any third downs either because nobody stopped them before they got to third or fourth. And so that can be a little misleading. I think the red zone percentage has a lot to do with being able to run the ball. You know, you run out of field space out there, and you have to have to find creative ways to score in the red zone. And our offense has been efficient in the red zone, and we don't look at it as just field goals. Look at it as an opportunity to score touchdowns. But it's a big part in games. It's usually a 4-point play, and we've been good at those.
Please raise your hands if you have a question for the coaches. I will stay on the left side in the back.
Yeah, Coach Pete Golden, Brooks Austin with Honest. How has this transition from defensive coordinating to becoming a head coach? And did you anticipate this? Is this something that you aspired for throughout your career and knew one day it would come, so you've been constantly preparing for it? Or has this been kind of learning on the fly? I'm sure you've already answered this, by the way.
I mean, I think it's nothing that I grew up saying, hey, I wanted to be the head coach one day. You know, I think in coaching, I've always been a dude where I am where my feet are. I'm going to do my job really well, whatever that job description is, and try to do that to the best of my ability and affect the people around me. What opportunities that create, right, we'll address then. And I've been pretty adamant for a long time. I think this guy to my left kind of said it for me. Outside looking in and being a defensive coordinator and how he did and how successful he was, and to be able to stay at one place for an extremely long period of time and be very successful and be in hand select the one that he wanted. That was a goal of mine once I watched him do that. So I was not in a rush to become a head coach. Like, you know, CAA and then will tell you, don't contact anybody. I don't want a head coaching job. You know, once I left Alabama to come to Ole Miss, I wasn't leaving Oxford. I didn't want to be the head coach at Ole Miss. I wanted to be the defensive coordinator at Ole Miss, and that's the same thing that I told Kiff. When this opportunity presented itself, it's nothing that I've been preparing for. You prepare for it every year because head coaches like Coach Smart and Coach Saban and Coach Kiffin and all the guys that I've been under prepare you for these moments, and they involve you in meetings of why we do certain things, and you're involved from a recruiting component and everything else. So yes, I've always had 2 notebooks everywhere I've been of because of and in spite of. And I think that's everywhere. I think you win because of a lot of things. I think you win in spite of a lot of things at certain places. And so it was always keeping those, or, hey, if I ever got my opportunity, okay, what would I continue to do that we've done that's been really effective? And then what would I eliminate, right, that I don't think affects winning or losing? And this one's a little different from the timing of it. And so like Coach Smart always said, this thing's already rolling. Right? It wasn't like we're taking over and we're starting fresh. I mean, at that point, we were 11-1. Everything was headed in the right direction. We got really good players, all right, and we got good systems that have been in place. We got a good staff. So at that point, it was just trying to keep it together and get back to the routine as fast as possible and get back to ball. And so it wasn't about changing everything. It wasn't about my opinion at that point. If anything's been changed since then, it's been through the Players Council, and it's been voted on by the players because it's their team. And so we've added a couple things that we felt like can help us, right, through them, and we've taken away a couple things that don't affect winning or losing, but that wasn't my decision in the entirety, right? That was also the Players Council decision. So this was something to come in, right? A lot of people have gotten us to this point, most importantly the players, and let's create good plans for them to put them in the best position to have success. Let's hold them accountable in the process, and let's go have fun doing it. So the timing of this one is not like taking the first job like Coach Smart did, and you're going into an offseason, you're developing your staff, and you're hiring all that, and the recruitment component, and this is what it's going to look like. All that's going to happen in 2026, and we're not going to try to change everything then, So it's been very successful. I really appreciated being under Coach Kiffin and learned a lot, and he did a great job getting us to this point.
We're going to move to the right side of the room in the back.
Joey Lamar with WSAV in Savannah. This is for both coaches. How big of a factor do you think experience will play in a game like this? Obviously, last year, Kirby, your guys were here. They went through the process. They know what it's like. And then for Pete, your guys have not been through this. Your team hasn't been through that experience. What factor do you think experience will play in a game like this?
Yeah, I think it's a good topic for you guys to talk about and debate about, but once the players get on the field, all that goes away. None of that matters. I mean, we've been in rematches, big games. When you play in the SEC, every week's a big game. When you go on the road in the SEC and play, it's an environment like no other. It can't be matched. And so the gauntlet of what their team has gone through and our team has gone through, this is another, SEC battle. I don't think you can draw much. I don't personally think you can draw much on the experiences you learned from last year. Are experiences like travel, extra day in a hotel, where you don't get those in regular season. But in these kind of matchups, it still boils down to the players making plays and coaches putting them in position to.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I think the big thing for us is always the focus on the preparation aspect of it. Like Coach Smart just said, I mean, coming down 3 days prior is a little different than this being a normal away game. But I think, the way the playoff is set up now, like going into the Egg Bowl, that was a playoff game for us. Like, if we didn't win that game, you weren't going to be playing in this game and have that opportunity. So I think, the way it's set up now, every game towards the end of this season is that mindset, what everybody's talking about, going 1-0. So I think the mindset and the focus hasn't changed. Obviously, the travel preparation component of it and being here 3 days early and all that. We've got a lot of guys, I think the transfer portal has changed that too, because you brought guys in from other programs that have played in the playoffs, right? And so they individually have some experience, and then you've got coaches around you that have experienced as well, right, that help you prepare with that. But at the end of the day, you got to spot the ball. It's not going to be the call that's going to win the game. It's going to be the execution of the call and the communication of 11 guys being on the same page and playing extremely hard and contesting every play. So it gets back to the players, no doubt.
We'll move to the left side of the room.
Sarah Tidwell with the Athens Banner-Herald. This is for Kirby. Ethan and Colby were taken off the injury report last night. How crucial is it going to be to have them available again, and how much do you think that they're going to get to see the field?
Well, they both practiced for a while now, and they've both been working their way back. They're both were really critical parts early in the season for Ethan. Tight end's a position that we have pretty good depth at. So Ethan's a very attentive, wise beyond his years. I mean, he was at our practices last year for this game, and we already knew, wow, this guy's going to be able to pick things up quick. He's smart, he's tough, he's physical. So we're excited to have him back, and hopefully he can help in some capacity. But you only get so many tight ends on the field in so many ways. We've got some guys playing well at those positions. So Colby's done a great job coming back. He's a guy that when it first came out, I didn't think he was going to be back before the end of the season, regardless of how far the season went. He's sped that process up. He wants to play. It's important to him. He's missed time, and he wants to get back out there and go compete. But we'll have to see how he looks game day and what he's able to do and how we can work him in.
Okay, we're going to stay on the left side.
All right, so we'll get a lot more from Pete Golden and Kirby Smart when we return. Quick break, and we'll get back to the Superdome and listen in for both all-state playoff predictor, Alabama and Ole Miss. Right there, 6 and 5% chance of winning it all. Georgia all the way up to 11%. We'll discuss those percentages a little bit later in the show. But now let's get back to New Orleans. Kirby Smart, Pete Golden at the podium.
Last week, and it's just, it's a statement to the conference, and you get an opportunity to go play somebody that maybe something more about. You certainly have a lot more common opponents when you play within the league in the playoffs.
Move to the right side. In the middle.
Mike Griffith, Atlanta Journal-Constitution and Dog Nation. Kirby, you've obviously had a lot of great defensive assistant coaches that have gone on to great things, and last year you shared the stage with another coach with a great defensive background. I was wondering if you could share with us what you think about the job that Pete's done, what you've seen from him. You've prepared for his teams and played against him several times.
Yeah, a lot of respect for what Pete's done. It's a little unique because I spend a lot of time on the defensive side for us, so I'm usually looking at other teams' offenses, which it's not been Pete's forte nor mine. So we don't spend a lot of time on that. But when you're crossing over and you watch other people play, you're usually watching their defense to see what they did to stop somebody, or you're calling somebody on defense to say, hey, what did y'all think about this guy or that guy? And through the years, he's done a tremendous job defensively, and he's got an opportunity now to kind of form and mold a program in his eyes and how he wants to do it. And he's been around some really good ones, I know that. So, and very different leaders in the guys he's been around. So it allows you to grow when you're around different kind of leadership styles like he's been around.
We have two questions along the aisle on the left side. We'll start in the front.
Neil McCready with 24/7 Sports. Pete, kind of following up on Mike's question just then, now that it is your program, as you get into the program building aspect of it, culture, player retention, the way you build your roster, is Georgia sort of the model that you want to try to kind of build around?
Yeah, I think, whatever you're in, you're looking at, who does it the best and who's done it the best on a consistent basis. And there's no doubt, these last several years it's been Georgia. And that was the same thing, for the Bama run with Coach Saban. Every offseason when you're at Bama, every coach's staff comes in, everybody wants to know what the hell are y'all doing different and all those type of things. But, I think at the end of it, right, it's recruiting really good players, right, have a toughness and discipline in the program, surrounding yourself with really good people that are smarter than you, right, and staying on the cutting edge of things. But I think you got to recruit at a high level, all right, and you got to be exciting to be, to watch. You got to be physically smart and all those things. But all those components, I think, are going to come. I think it's based on people. And number one right now, I think the stability within our program is extremely important. And I think that's a big reason why I'm in the chair that I'm in, is how much can we retain both from a player and a coach standpoint on two systems that have worked and had success in this league consistently over the last 3 years. And so that's our top priority, is to retain as many players and coaches to keep the systems the same for our players moving forward based on the success that we've had.
And now we'll go to the back.
This question is for Kirby. Chris Lowe with On3 Sports. Kirby, you've been at two places now where you guys have won a lot of titles. What are the challenges to sort of keep that edge year after year? And when you've got a group like this that maybe didn't have as many contributors to your last title, what is your sense of how much these guys want their own?
I missed the last part. You said this group or last?
This group, what's your sense of how much this group wants their own, since a lot of these guys were not contributors the last time you won one?
Yeah, the group last year wanted to, the senior class, you're always trying to win for that team. Each team has a different makeup, mentality. You grow and create an identity throughout the year of what that team is. And every year it's been different. I mean, our teams have changed. The two national championship teams that were back-to-back were very different. So there's a hunger there. There's a drive there. There's guys in the room that stand up and talk, and their first time being with our team and really experiencing things was the TCU game out in California, and now they're at the end of their ride. And for them, it's like, I always thought that it would come easy, that it would just happen naturally, that it was a given that you would be there, and nothing is given. I mean, you go completely undefeated the following year, lose one game, and don't make a playoff. It wasn't the 12-team playoff format, so you don't even make it. Then the next year you make it and you get beat by a Notre Dame team. So you don't control a lot of that. You control your preparation. You control your thoughts, habits, and priorities, and we try to center our attention around that. I don't look at this team and say, oh, well, they're a failure if they don't win a national title. Championships are what we all want. Trust me, we all want to get them. But it's the ride and the affecting young people's lives along the way that we really do this for. And that means a lot to me, especially as I get older and up in age. Is what kind of relationship do I have with those guys? Will they come back to the program years from now? Are they invested in that G on that helmet? And that matters a hell of a lot more to me, that they feel like they were a part of something bigger than themselves.
All right, we have time for two more questions. We're going to start on the right side in the back.
This is Anthony Dasher from UJSports.com. Kirby, you've been here, Georgia, 10 years now. Every team, like you said just now, is a little bit different in one way, shape or form. What's been unique about this team from maybe the previous ones?
They've had a great personality. I think I've said it over and over, but there were times in the past that we were a little bit older, or we had a lot of guys that had been in the program for a fifth or sixth year. It was during the little COVID run there, and there were times you felt like they didn't love the game. They didn't really want to be out there and practice like you really want. And that hasn't been the case for this group. They've had a lot of energy. We're a little younger, and they want to be coached. They want to be coached hard. They like practicing hard. They get out there and do exactly what you demand of them each and every day. And they've seen some of the rewards from that, some of the physical toughness, some of the stop the run the ball. I mean, like, they see the rewards from it, and they bought into that being an identity. It's a cohesion of a team, a lot of role players that you have that really buy into doing things that helps you win.
We'll take our final question from the left side.
Coach Smart, I think this is really a question for you, Mitch Gibbs, WGSO Radio. Last year, I know it was a small sample, but the teams that had buys kind of struggled last year. And so it'll be interesting to see how that plays out this week with the teams that have buys, for the next couple of days. Is there an advantage, in your opinion, to playing that first game, or is just last year was an aberration? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think it's going to play out like you said. It's concerning as a coach to have a long layoff, because I always repeat this: in no sport anywhere do you go that long in a team sport without playing a game when you're in a rhythm of playing a game, right? They don't have March Madness and say, hey, let's sit out 30 days and then come back and play March Madness. Baseball, they don't do that. They just don't do that in sports. You play, you have a rhythm, you get going. Ours is very unique in that regard, in terms of the setup for the break. And that may change in the future, I don't know, but I know I talked to several coaches in the playoffs about that exact thing, and there were a lot of them that wanted an ability to play a game in between those two, because you're going to find out more about your team. I mean, if you're not good enough to win that game, you're certainly not going to win the next two or three. So it is what it is. Everybody tries to spin it as an advantage, whichever way they take it, and nobody really knows what the advantage is, because you can lose a player, you can get somebody injured when you play those games. But we've taken a different approach to it this year. We're going to see how it goes. I don't think the outcome of the game defines the approach. I think it's simple as saying, well, it doesn't work if you don't play a game. Not necessarily true. How did you play in the game? What were the factors that contributed to winning and losing the game? And we'll see that tomorrow night.
Thank you, Coach Smart. Thank you, Coach Golding. At this time, we'll get things set up for photos.
Always love when they do the photo too, or right before.
It feels like, doesn't it feel like a boxing match or like a UFC fight where you're like looking each other's eyes, you know?
Pete Golden just
You
all of a sudden
square off.
get I mean, it's the SEC. We'd have Greg Sankey right behind it right there, like Dana White does for the UFC. The number is 833-814-0732. Some of you are already on hold. We'll get to your phone calls here on the other side of the break. But ultimately, what did you take away, if anything, new from what Pete Golding and Kirby Smart had to say?
I think really what I was reminded of is how similar these guys are, similar backgrounds, similar defensive-minded head coaches now, guys that were defensive coordinators. Pete Golding having been there with Coach Saban at Alabama, and obviously, the Kirby Smart's background and pedigree as a longtime defensive coordinator in Tuscaloosa. These guys do a lot of things similarly on the field, and I think they do a lot of things similarly as Pete Golding has moved into that role of being a head coach.
That picture of them is just hilarious.
It's awkward, isn't it?
It's awkward because you just see Kirby Smart.
Yeah, like, look at him.
Pete's got that little smirk. I will say this. Every time I listen to Pete Golding in a presser, he seems just more and more – it just seems natural. And that is a really difficult situation for him to be in, and it seems like a duck to water.
I liked what he said. He was asked about preparation and becoming a head coach. He goes, I didn't really think about it. Like, I've always done a good job of being where my feet are, trying to do the best job that I can in the role that I'm in right now. The role that he's in right now is a bit of a double duty role where he's having to be the defensive coordinator and the head coach. And I'm interested. I don't know what his plan is going forward, but the guy's a genius when it comes to defensive football strategizing. I've talked to him ad nauseum about what he enjoys in coaching, and that's creating opportunities for guys in one-on-one pass rush situations, which he does really, really well. So I'm interested to see how active he remains on the defensive side going
because
forward.
I don't know if there's a tried and true way to go about it, right? I mean, we've seen some coaches. What was it? I mean, Clark Lee
jumped back in it,
jumped back into it.
He jumped out. Yeah. We saw Mike Elko jump in. He's the defensive coordinator. What about Brent Venables the season that Oklahoma had? There was a time where offensive-minded head coaches were very much involved in remaining the play callers. Yeah. That's kind of waned a little bit, but we're seeing defensive-minded head coaches now remain the defensive coordinator and the play calling a lot more frequently now. So I think it is interesting how that thing has waxed and waned a bit.
One of the things that's interesting, too, Ryan Day, Ohio State, Miami later tonight. Ryan Day is going to be the play caller for the Buckeyes, remember? Because Brian Hartline ended up taking the job over at USF. And so now, for Alex Golish, how that's going to play into that. All right, we're going to take your phone calls coming up. We'll react to everything we heard at the show.